Friends, fans, and fine folk, come on down, sit around the campfire, and have a little short rest with me and my friend Sarah Moore. Sarah, you can say hello, and we can go through the usual ritual of me working out what the tech goblins are doing. Yep, there we go. Yeah, just as I thought. They cannot hear you. Great. Even though I worked this out beforehand and made sure it was working. All right, try again. Second time.
Okay. What about now?
Perfect.
Now can we hear me?
They should be able to hear you right now.
Yay.
Ah, how I love audio goblins. That was as they go. That one would just like popped its head up and then left. That's not so bad. That one.
No. Very polite audio goblin.
Very polite audio goblin. He saw the swords and was like, maybe not today.
Don't want to be cut down. Just wanted to let you know I'm still here, kind of a thing.
How's our respective volume, people? Can you let us know? Am I much louder? Is Sarah much louder? Are we good? Is this?
Should I yell?
Just
I'm ready.
Just scream into the microphone just to test.
I got some lungs on me. I could do it.
I don't doubt it. Sounds good. All right, people saying it sounds good. So welcome along.
I just said there's always a thing about my ears, by the way, and somebody just said it in chat. These are actually my headphones. They're not just.
Are they
I have little tiny baby ears, so they're my headphones, so they'll stay in my ears.
One of the first questions I wanted to ask was what's with the ears? Like why is it part of the brand, and you just always like to wear them when you're GMing?
Yeah, I mean it works really well with the brand, right? Like because it's D&D and high fantasy and all that stuff. But but also like I traditionally have a really difficult time finding earbuds that work for me. I have very tiny ears,
right.
and I have a little bit of structural hearing loss in my right ear, and so I need to have something that will stay in. Otherwise, I can't participate with what's going on. And so I found these that just hook over my ear, so it's really hard for them to fall out. So.
That's really smart. Were you browsing specifically for them and were like, oh, Elfia ones, they work, or did you just come across them and went, these will be perfect?
So about 5 years ago, my sister-in-law bought me a pair of these for like a Christmas gift, and I discovered they worked really well, and I beat the holy heck out of them for like 4 years and just had to replace them. But yeah, they're super great. I think that like legitimately, I think they're like $14 on Amazon. So if you all want to look like me,
gotta get there. If you want to get into your cosplaying, they need a wig that's your hairstyle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, just this hairstyle, by the way, in case anybody is wondering, I went to my stylist and I said, "Can you make my hair the color of like when sunlight hits an oil slick?"
Very nice, iridescent quality to it.
Yeah, it's like mermaid hair, but like less spiny.
Like mermaids after the BP oil spill.
Yeah.
Mermaids breaching the surface and been like, la 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 la.
Yeah.
Help me. Yeah. Can you make my hair look like that, please?
Yeah. That is exactly what I said, which was interesting.
So we jumped over introductions in case people are watching this on my YouTube later, or they're watching this through some other means. We should introduce who you are. How have you come to be in my wheelhouse of people that I would talk to at a short rest? Tell us a bit about you.
Hi everyone. My name is Sarah Moore. I have been in sort of the gaming sphere for, I don't know, I think professionally, I think this is like my 10th year. I host a tabletop actual play show called Sarah's Table. That's on levelup_TTV on Twitch. That's Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern, which for my Down Under folk, I'm really not sure what time it is by you.
Work it out. You've got the internet.
Okay.
Type in
just
time
Google it.
That Sarah just said, and the internet will tell you what time it is, hopefully. Give or take an hour if you get daylight savings wrong.
Yeah. But like, also you could just follow me on Pixies and Pins and it'll tell you. It'll be great.
Yeah.
my day job is I work for Peter Atkinson of Gen Con and Wizards of the Coast fame. We do a project called World of Chaldea, which is a multimedia project based on a D&D campaign that started running in 1981. And now we have turned it into a combination of live action films. There's a podcast, there's a comic series, there's a novelization. And currently we are doing something called Actoroki, which is where we take an episode, an RPG session, and we turn it into a short film in the course of 2 weeks. And I'm DMing that. We're in our second series. It's wild. It uses D&D 5e. And you can find that on Satine Phoenix's channel, which is twitch.tv/gildinglight. And that's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is actually, we're doing another episode in just over 2 hours. So if we're done here, you can just hop on over to Gilding Light.
Well, yeah, I might be able to time it just right to send them off on a raid to the right channels.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
And
but yeah, and I just love gaming in general.
And so. we got to know each other when Level Up TTV reached out to me. I'm an affiliate of Level Up Dice, and if you want to help me out, you can click on the various links that some of my mods will be putting in the chat there and browse some lovely dice that they do. They also got in touch with me and went, "Hey, you should. We've got like a, what do they call it? Can't remember the name. Some kind of just wild, different games every Monday of the month or something.
It's
what were they calling it?
Story Masters Madness.
Story Madness. I was thinking Monday Madness, and it wasn't that. Story Master Madness, yeah. And so I put my name down on the sheet to play a game called Sexy Battle Wizards, because I was like, that sounds fun. And you were the GM for that, and it was a tremendous amount of fun. And you can actually find it on YouTube. I think it's on Level Up TTV's YouTube page. Again, one of my mods will be able to link you that soon. Thank you, mods.
Thank you, mods.
Sexy Battle Wizards was supreme fun, and that was the first time that I'd played with you in a game. And then since then, we also played a definitely not legally Star Wars game called Rebel Scum, which was just as much fun. It was a 3-parter, that one. So we've worked together a couple of times now.
Yeah, it was wild too.
It was a lot of fun both times. And I've since watched a few of your other Sarah's Table games as well, like Kobolds Ate My Babies and various other... There was the Tiny Tusks, was it? The orcish one.
Were you seemed like you were maybe checking out all of the puppet stuff.
Yeah, I was checking out this stuff on 9th level games, but I also saw the... I started watching the Princess one, the Excellence, was it?
Yes. Yeah. That's their flagship. That's kind of sort of where I live. That's where they brought me in first, was for the Excellence.
So
I got to do a game of the Excellence, which is why they approached me, actually, is I ran a game of the Excellence for Peter Atkinson, Stefan Pokorny, Tim Kask, who was my last player? Now I have to look it up.
Fall cosplay, was it?
No, but the very first one.
Oh, the first one you ran. Sure.
It wasn't for Sarah's Table. It was before Sarah's Table was a thing. And we, Peter was like, well, you know what would be funny is what if we got a bunch of the important old guard of gaming, and what if we had them all be princesses? And I was like, that sounds super fun. It was Mike Pondsmith was the last who does Cyberpunk fame. And so they all came on and were very engaged with being princesses, and were very concerned that they wanted to make sure that they did it right, and they were going to be, and a couple of them had wigs on, and it was a wild stream, but it was really fun. It was for Gen Con that year. And after I was done with that, 9th level was like, what if you come and run more of that? Because that could be good. Yeah, so it's
so on that same
sort of where, and I go back to it a lot.
Yeah, on that same sort of theme, explain to me. So Sarah's Table is an existing entity that you run, obviously, where you're playing various different games. You're never just playing one particular game. It's not like Sarah's Table is this particular, or even like the same system or anything, is it? It's just like you play a variety of various different games, and you run it on Level Up TTV, but also ninth level games. What does it exist outside of any particular medium?
Yeah. So ninth level, yeah, ninth level games is has been the sponsor, and so we do a lot of different ninth level games on there. They have sort of a bunch of titles, and we live most of the time in the polymorph system, which is what the excellence is. And the way that their games are made is it's sort of all kind of interconnected. Like they're building this like multiverse of games that sort of can eventually fit into each other, kind of thing.
So the Rebel Scum and the Princess in the Excellence are in the same multiverse, as it were.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
punching
there's
space
also
Nazis and being
as princesses. It all fits.
Yeah.
It all fits. Yeah. But then I also I try to stick to 2 or 3 a month that is ninth level run because they are the sponsor. But I also branch out a little bit. Sometimes I have, like just recently I did a Labyrinth arc that was super fun. Like the movie, there's an RPG of Labyrinth and it's the best. It feels like you're playing the movie, which is really fun. Because for a child of the 80s named Sarah, I mean, you just want to be in the movie.
Yeah. Did you have an annoying younger brother that you wanted to give away to the Goblin King?
I actually have an annoying older brother that I would have given away to the goblins. Yeah. 4 years older than me, so I was the baby. But
tried to give you away to the Goblin King.
No, but he didn't want me, I guess.
David Bowie looked at you and went, "Nah."
He was like, "No, thanks."
I might. Dang it. So you run Sarah's Table only on Level Up TTV, and then some of the ones that are sponsored by ninth level then get put on the ninth level YouTube after. Is that right?
Yeah. It's it streams live on Level Up TTV, and then I believe that there are some that are then put up on their archives on their YouTube channel, but then also on the ninth level YouTube channel. So
right.
But I have been toying, and this is probably the kick in the pants that I need, of making a Sarah's Table YouTube channel that I can just put all of them up on.
It would make it easier to find where to find it.
True. It's true. But we're gamifying everything, right? It's a little bit like a scavenger hunt.
But you need to, if you're going to lean into that, you need to put a comment under the YouTube channel on the Level Up TTV one that is a clue to where they can find the next one on some other channel, and then a comment on that one that's a clue to the next one.
This is not going to be way too much work for me
Definitely
that I will definitely not sink into, for sure.
I at the very least, because I noticed the same thing, because I'm doing guest stars in games here and there, and like talking with people on their channel and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But it means that people who want to see me in things don't have to like run all over the place trying to find me, like clicking on other people's stuff. So I at the very least, to try and consolidate that, I've got a community post on my YouTube that's just like a single post that has a link to all the different things that I'm on. I'm like, hey, if you want to see me running D&D for the Viva la Dirt League guys, this is the link to that channel. And if you want to see me playing Rebel Scum, here's the link to that one.
Very smart.
Keeps it consolidated without me having to take all of other people's videos and try and put them on my channel.
Steal them all.
Just steal. It's just straight up steal.
Take them all, little thief hands.
So how did Sarah's Table start then? What was the beginnings of that? Because you said the first time you did the I keep wanting to say the Enchanted because I'm thinking of the Disney princess movie.
Right, yeah. the Excellence, yeah.
You said when you first did that, it was before Sarah's Table. So was it?
Yeah, well, I had been Alex Abrate from Level Up Dice and Level Up TTV he and I have been friends for quite some time. And he kept being like, "You should come and do a thing for us. Come do a thing." And it just sort of like he saw the thing from Gen Con, and then ninth level saw the thing from Gen Con, and he was like, "Okay, well, we're starting level up TTB, so this seems like a natural fit. Please come and play with us." Um, yeah, so it just sort of like it was a very organic process. I
And they just said, "Hey, what day would work for you?" Or did they say, "Hey, we've got this
yeah.
time slot and this time slot"?
Actually, they were like, "What do you what do you want to do? Like, what do you got going on? Like, how many can you give us?" So we started doing just like I did one a month for them at the beginning, and then they were like, "I really feel like you could like let's do some more." So we bumped it up to once a week and got really rolling after maybe 2 or 3 months. And then
Nice.
and now and then the rest is history,
How
as they
long?
say.
How long has it
Yeah.
been going now? How long have you been doing Sarah's Table?
Um, I think it'll be a year in February.
In that year,
So,
rough ballpark estimate, because I don't expect you to know exactly the number, because it'll probably be quite high. How many different games and systems have you played?
oh gosh. Um, maybe 20?
Maybe 20 different games and systems. It's a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
D&D seems to be the one that gets people from board gaming into tabletop role playing gaming, and then people start to learn
Yeah.
that it's not the
D&D
only
is
tabletop
the
role playing game.
marijuana
Yeah,
of gaming.
it's the gateway game.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I want to play a little back and forth game. Then let's start listing some.
Okay.
Let's start listing some other games that you can play outside of D&D. Obviously,
Okay.
we'll start with the obvious ones. I'll go Pathfinder.
Okay. The excellence.
We'll go Honey Heist, which is a one-page
Ooh,
game about where you're playing
very good
bears in hats.
I like Honey Heist. I will see your Honey Heist and I will raise you Goat Crashers, where you are playing goats trying to infiltrate a human party and not let them know that you are goats.
I've not even heard of that one. That's great.
Yeah.
Goat
Same
Crashers.
same guy who wrote Honey Heist
I
wrote
imagined,
Goat
yeah,
Crash.
because I'll continue the same line with Crash Pandas. Crash Pandas is
Oh yeah,
where you're
Crash
playing
Pandas.
raccoons who are also street racers.
Yes. Also, let's get into the holiday theme and say Last Christmas, where you time travel back in time to stop yourself from killing Scrooge last Christmas and accidentally setting off the apocalypse.
I love it. Not heard of that one either. I think I'd heard the name, didn't know anything about it. I will
Yeah.
change track completely and go with Dread, which is a system that uses a Jenga tower to. You don't roll any dice or anything. You just anytime you're trying to do something, you pull a block from the tower, and if it falls, your character dies. It's sort of a horror themed
Yeah.
suspense thriller. It's very fun.
If we're gonna stay in the horror theme, I'm gonna say, how about Vaesen, which is like a Scandinavian mythological horror game.
Another one. Let's go with Rebel Scum, which was one of the games that I've played with you. And it's a very unique, completely not like any other existing IP game where it's set in like a galaxy, sort of a long way away,
Yeah.
and and you're playing people with mystical sort of powers and light swords that can punch space Nazis in the face.
Right. How about well, we've already talked about it, but Sexy Battle Wizard, where you have three stats, which are Sexy, Battle, and Wizard, and you must solve all of your problems using one of those three things. And if you get too stressed out, you explode in a puff flip.
It is. I cannot recommend it enough. Definitely go and watch the episode where we played it. It was so much fun, and we were joined, of course, with by some wonderful role players. Adrienne, is it Adrienne?
Adriel.
Adriel, sorry, Adriel.
Yep.
Michael from Dead Oz Gamer and Josh, the Dreaded GM, and we were all very sexy, battley, and wizardy. It was it was very fun.
Yeah.
Let's go. This is one I've not played myself, but Powered by the Apocalypse. That's another
Oh yeah.
system.
Good one. Numenera is great by Monty Cook Games.
You're pulling out so many that I've not even heard of. You're definitely going to beat me at this game. I'm starting to run out. We've got Monster of the Week. That's one that's a nice, simple kind of in the style of the TV shows, the Monster of the Week type TV shows with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer or whatever, where every episode it's just like you kill a new monster at the end of the episode and then stand alone.
Yeah. Thirsty Sword Lesbians, a favorite here.
I have heard of that one, but only through you.
It's wonderful.
You and Lanta have talked about that before.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it? I don't know anything about the game.
You play basically just like a horny lesbian. You have to solve your problems. It's okay. So one of my favorite things is that there is a move in the game called Finally Kiss in a Dangerous Situation. And if you do that with another player character, then you both get bonuses to what you are doing in the rest of the scene.
That is brilliant. True Story asks, are the swords the lesbians?
I mean, I'm not above giving a sentient sword to somebody in a game, so I'm also for having the swords be lesbians.
Yeah, why not?
They actually just came out with an expansion that's called like I believe it is called Advanced Swords and Lesbians in Grand Edition of things. Yeah, it's then the art is really beautiful. I think everyone should play it. Everyone find your inner lesbian. In my games, when I run it, we also have a discussion and character creation about whether your lesbian is a top or a bottom or a switch. It's important for role-playing purposes that you know. Yeah, love it.
We've got, what else we got? We got Pathfinder set in space. It's called Starfinder. Very crunchy, but it's the same Pathfinder system, but lots and lots of numbers about like whether you've got a different armor class for whether it's a laser weapon that's shooting you, or whether it's a kinetic weapon that's shooting you, or whether it's fall damage, or whether lots of different armor classes. Very crunchy.
Nice. We also have Blades in the Dark.
Oh, yes.
For those of you who love rogues like I do, I'm a big fan. Rogues for life. If I play D&D, I want to be playing a rogue. And so this system is basically like, what if everyone in the party was a rogue? When you just get to... it has a flashback mechanic, which I think is really cool, that you can like... You don't have to decide right away how everything plays out.
Right.
Like you can get up to a point and go, hey, there's a guard, and like I'm gonna flash back and have bribed that guard. So
right.
You
can establish things after the fact once you know that you need it.
Right.
Yeah, there's some games
you don't need to be able to figure that out. You don't have to be smart enough to have planned the heist beforehand.
Smart. It's very, very clever, and it's how heist movies are usually told, with flashbacks and things. When they need a thing, you see where they got it. Very clever. A friend of mine wanted to run that, but I was too busy, so he ran it with a bunch of my mates, and I got very much the FOMO of that particular game. I'm like, I really need to play Blades and things like that. Let's go with Through the Breach. Have you played that one before? It's one that Dead as a Gamer plays a lot. It is a card-based game, so a deck of tarot cards essentially, and everybody's got their own deck of cards themselves, as well as the fate deck in the center. And you turn it over, and you want a higher number to achieve the armor class, sort of thing. It's a very good game. Played it a number of times with Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I love tarot, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Definitely want to check that out.
You even use it for like your character creation as well. Like you choose one number from each of the suits, and then the numbers as you turn them over to decide on your character. Whatever number you get tells you your flaws and your bonds and all of that stuff. Bit of your history of your character and stuff.
I love that somebody in the chat just said, I put Rob's stream on at work so I can listen to him talk, and now they're talking about lesbians. Right, my boss walks into my office. You're welcome. Also, okay, so Burning Wheel. Have you played Burning Wheel?
No, I don't think I've heard of that one.
Delightful. It's a great system, made by Luke Crane, and it basically is like much heavier on story than it is on like mechanics and there's not a lot of like combat in Burning Wheel. It's more about like exploiting the relationships that you have within your community. In my current campaign that I am playing, I am playing a weather witch. She can control the weather, but she is a bad person. So she makes money by like making it rain on someone's important day and then offering to make it stop raining
nice, yeah.
if they will pay her.
Magical protection racket. Wouldn't it be a shame? Wouldn't it be a shame if it rained on your wedding day?
It's just so terrible, right? Don't you want a nice, pretty day? And,
lovely place you got here. Would be a shame if it burned down with a fireball.
Correct. The whole party in that game we're all just like despicable people. We're just nice. Like, yeah, we also have somebody in our party who can speak to rats. And so sometimes he'll like send his rats into a building and then go in and be like, I can get rid of your rats if you pay me. And then he just like takes them out and we
Pied Piper styles.
Places. Yeah.
Pay me or I'll take your kids.
Yeah, I mean,
I've played one. Oh, in the sim style as the same vein as the card game before the tarot game. I've played another deck of cards based one. I always forget the name of it. The Final Year or the Last Year, and it's a fascinating thing.
Is it the Quiet Year?
The Quiet Year, yes, the Quiet Year. You of course you know it. So for those who don't, see if I can remember it. It's been a while since I played it. You've arranged the deck. You've shuffled them, but then you've arranged them into the suits. And so let's say diamonds are spring of that year, and then and each it can't be 13 because it'd be a whole year, wouldn't it? If it was the week. Each turn is a week in the year. Anyway, every time you turn a new card, like around your turns, every time you turn a card, you get two choices. Somebody else arrives in the village, or and it's you're not role playing as a single character. You're role playing as an entire like village on the map. So you've got like a little. You start off with a very blank map and just like a village in the center, and in the setup of the game, every person gets to draw one thing on the map, and you can draw whatever you want. Oh, I'm going to decide that there's a mountain range over here. I'm going to decide that there's a river over here. I've decided that there's an ancient mystical ruins over this way. And once everybody's decided one, then you start playing and you turn over the top card, and that's the first week. In the first week, there's a tragedy occurs because your food has run out or whatever. The crop hasn't yielded enough vegetables for you all, and you all kind of just roleplay what's going to happen. What does the village do to try and fix that? And then occasionally you'll turn over one that's like add something else to the map as you are discovering certain things that are going on. It's fascinating and weird mechanic that I unlike anything else I'd ever played before, but it was fascinating for world building.
Super cool.
Really,
and also if you're going to be doing a longer campaign, even in a different setting, it's very cool to use the Quiet Year to like collectively build the world that you're playing in as a table, that you can then move on.
That is exactly how I intend to use it at some point as well, because at some point on my YouTube channel I want to have like an actual play D&D game. But I want to sort of build the world with the fans first, and so I'll have a series of like world building games that aren't D&D, and the Quiet Year is a perfect one for world building. Back to you. Cool. I'm coming out with more of these than I thought I'd have run out by now.
So I have been doing some like solo journaling RPGs as well, and there's one called Fetch by Grant Howitt, who has done a bunch of the like ridiculous ones that we were talking about earlier. Like, he did Sexy Battle Wizards, and he did Last Christmas, and he did Goat Crushers and Crash Pandas and that sort of stuff. But he does one called Fetch, which is like much more serious, and the concept is that you discover in your life that you are a fetch. Your body was stolen by the fairies, and you are a magical construct. And the problem that happens with that is that as soon as you discover this, the magic that is holding you together starts to break down. So you have to journey back to yourself, your body that has been stolen by the fairies. And it's like a really introspective kind of a game. And there's actually like a warning on it that if you are not in the best of mental health, that you should not play it, because it really makes you kind of like dig into who you are and what makes you you. It's a very interesting situation.
I find board games' abilities to allow you to discover things about yourself, like the just role playing games and board games, as the way of the sort of almost therapeutic nature that they have, and they can be almost therapy. You should never treat it as therapy. If you do need to speak to somebody properly, then your gaming table shouldn't have that burden, because we're not all trained therapists. But it can definitely have therapeutic elements to it. You can definitely learn more about who you are by playing somebody new, somebody different, and it sounds like that sort of game would be perfect for that if you're in the right mindset to do it. It seems like your video is frozen. Let's see if my internet catches up. Oh no, you're back.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're back.
Maybe it's just I just sometimes can be very still. One of my jobs involves me being very, very still for long periods of time.
Are you a life model?
I am.
There you go. Guessed it. It was either that or human statue on the street.
I mean, it's sort of both, I guess. At this point, it's kind of, there's a big overlap. It's a little cold in Chicago for that at the moment, but.
So there's a 2-player RPG called The Tower. I don't think it's actually published, but it uses a deck of cards. One player is playing as like the kind of the game master, but more of like role-playing the deity of the other player, who is some kind of divine follower. It doesn't have to be like a holy paladin or anything. The first time I played it, I was a necromancer, gravedigger. I was a grave robbing, kind of a rootin' tootin' cowboy kind of grave robber. But the tower is sort of metaphorical in that you are acquiring artifacts as you go, and then you can use those in other scenes to give yourself a plus to certain rolls. So if you roll a 3 of hearts and you really needed a 5 to succeed, you've got 2 artifacts back in your tower, you're like, oh, I'll use those now for another 2. And it's very much a world building kind of a game. The game that we ended up running together ended up being lifted and put into another game that friend then ran for me in another system. Oh, and that reminds me of another one. I've got one more I can do before I'm out, I think. I've just thought of that one last one.
Excellent.
All right, back to you.
So there's 1,000-year-old vampire, where you play a 1,000-year-old vampire, and you get to tell your story.
And it's called Mural of Vampire?
1,000-year-old
vampire. I think your audio cut out in the middle and missed it. 1,000-year-old vampire, where you play a 1,000-year-old vampire.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Yeah. Which reminds me of Vampire Masquerade. Well, I haven't played that one before.
Excellent. Was that the one you had thought of, or was that an extra one?
No, that was an extra one, because you said vampire and it reminded me of it. I haven't played it. Have you ever played it?
Okay, well, I'm probably gonna help you out a little bit, because my thought is on this one is Women Are Werewolves. Which is a game about being non-binary in a world where all of the women turn into werewolves on the full moon, and how that like affects if you do turn or if you do not, how that affects your perception of your own gender and how people treat you and your gender.
Oh, okay. So does it explore people who sort of present as male but turn into werewolves?
So you play a non-binary character.
Right.
And then you get to decide whether or not your character turns, and how the other people in your like werewolf clan treat you because of that, and like yes, it's
wow, that sounds
like
seems like there's a lot in a role-playing game there. Seems again like we were saying before,
it's pretty heavy
to get into with your own just like introspective. It tells you a lot about yourself as you're playing the game, maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of that one is another one that has like warnings on it of like
Yeah.
this could bring up some stuff. So like be aware of going into it that you are comfortable at your table and that you are like you trust the people around you, kind of a thing.
I'm trying to think which one you think that would have, which would have given me. There's obviously Werewolf, which is a sort of role playing game. I don't know if it. I always consider it more of a. I suppose it is. Yeah, it's. I always think of it as a party game, but I suppose you don't have to be drunk at a party to play it.
It has to be. It helps.
It does help.
It helps.
It's the only times I've ever played it is at parties, or at the gaming shops and things. But yeah, Werewolf is a role playing game, I suppose. Yeah, I never really thought of it that way. Yeah, and for those who don't know, you're handed roles on cards, and you look at them in secret. And you might be the villager, you might be a tanner, you might be a werewolf, you might be a sheriff or whatever. And then you close your eyes. Everybody closes their eyes, and then there's an audio track that plays that tells you, if you're a werewolf, open your eyes and see who the other werewolves are. And
see who else is here. Yeah.
And now close your eyes. If you're the sheriff, open your eyes and choose one person that you want to accuse of being a werewolf and whatever. You've all got different roles and different things you can do, and then once it's all done, you open your eyes and you have like 5 minutes to discuss and like try and vote somebody out as being a werewolf. It is a good one.
Yeah, so a little bit like Survivor that way.
Yeah.
Voting you off the island. There's also Tiny Tusks, where you play.
We didn't talk about that one. Yeah, of course.
Where you play half. You are half orc and half something else, and then you use that. It's sort of like your coming of age. So you get to play your coming of age ceremony, where like, you become an adult orc of the tribe, but you get to decide like how much of your other half plays into that, and like is your mother the one that is the orc, or is it your father, and how does that affect things?
There's a great example of Tiny Tusks over on 9th level games, with you playing with 3 puppets. Yeet the Kobold,
yes,
Cucumber from Perception Studios, and his name's failing me.
The other one from
the blue one, the
Perception Studios.
The other one from Perception Studios. It's very good, very enjoyable. And when you introduced it, I was like, oh, okay. So the introduction scene is you introducing your character, and you're half orc and half something else, and go through this like, and then the actual meat of it is you go off on adventure together, and it's like no, the entire episode is you just introducing yourselves and describing who you are and where you came from and what your society is and your culture and how those two meet. Why did the orc breed with the mermaid? Whatever else.
Yeah. Well, and like I wouldn't necessarily take all of the puppet episodes as how the games usually run.
How the game is played.
There's something that happens when you are playing a puppet where they literally just like it takes away this layer of social niceties, and just it's kind of just chaos at that point. Lots of fun, but like I do need a nap at the end of it, for sure.
All right. I think I'll admit defeat. The only other one I could think of was one that's just called Anime RPG, and it was a friend of mine that ran it, and it is, as it sounds, just very anime-like. Your characters are over the top. You can play like magical schoolgirls, and and you level up super quick, like maybe once or twice per session you're leveling up, and so by the time you get to like level 60, you've got these super duper amazing anime powers, and it was very fun. And of course the final, and it was set all in a high school when my friend ran it, and it can be set anywhere, but yeah, it obviously makes sense to set it in a high school because of so many animes that are set in high schools. And then we fought like the prince. We fought all these different teachers that all had like a very distinctive person. One of them was like the gambler, and so he spoke with like this cowboy accent. And then when he did his transformation, he put on his cowboy hat and picked up a slot machine and used that as a gun as he's pulling the one-armed bandit sort of and firing out coins. Yeah. And any of his abilities were super high damaging, but there was a risk and reward situation. If he didn't roll high enough, then not only did he not hit, but he hurt himself. So yeah, I think a lot of it my mate was just making up rules for, but it was a lot of fun. And then the final one, the final bad guy was a big.
I'm a big proponent of just like because it's just to have fun, you know, like let's I'll let you try to do that. Like, sure, whatever it is.
It was a lot of fun. So I think you win there, especially if you can think of any more. Any last one?
Well, I also just recently played the Alien RPG.
Oh, okay. I only just watched Alien for the first time just the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In the upcoming episodes of Viva la Dirt League, there's something happens where one of the guys at the table says, "Oh, it's like Alien," and the other one goes, "Oh, it's kind of like Predator as well because of this other thing." And I was like, "Well, I haven't seen either, so you can't accuse me of stealing it from those things." And they just,
oh my gosh,
it ground the session to a halt immediately. Somebody pulled the emergency brake and went, "Whoa, hold up! You've never seen Alien or Predator?" And I was like, "No, I never, like, it was never my thing growing up. I wasn't into horror movies and whatever." And he was like, "You got to see him. You got to see him. It's not even that scary now. You got to."
Yeah.
So I literally that night I went home and watched Alien.
Yes. So I have to know, did you like Alien?
I can appreciate it for its nature as a classic film and like the first of its kind in a lot of ways. A lot of it was just too. It felt a little self-indulgent in its trying to build suspense in parts, in that it takes like 40 minutes at the start of the movie before you even get into anything exciting in that sense, in like an action sense.
I mean, yeah, that's very deliberate, I would say, and very James Cameron for like that's a stylistic choice, I believe.
It's 40 minutes of building the scene. Which just felt a little long. It held for like the first 20 minutes, and then I was like, when are they going to meet an alien? And then they finally meet an egg and all the rest of it. And interestingly, the other thing about it was that because it's such a iconic classic film that was unique in so many ways, most of it had diluted down to me through the zeitgeist. So I already knew about the eggs and the eggs that are in the mist, and obviously the face hugger, the chest bursting scene, the entire sort of design of the xenomorph, and the fact that pretty much everybody except for Sigourney Weaver dies. I knew all of that about it. What somehow had never made it to me though was the fact that one of them was a robot that sweat milk.
Oh yeah.
So when that scene started happening, I was like, "What is this? What is going on here?" This is something that actually managed to catch me off guard.
This is new. Yeah. I like also. It taught me to not trust Paul Reiser. He's a bad man. But like, I always describe it as like the perfect reason to always listen to a smart woman in your group, because they didn't listen to her.
Immediately she's like, "No, you're not coming back on, obviously, because we could all die." And then they're like, exactly. "Okay, everybody comes back on."
This is what happens when you break quarantine. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Also, just sort of like, it was classic. Just really like the ambiance that it was able to create. It's funny because one of my very early burlesque numbers is an alien number.
Oh, really?
It's my partner's favorite. Yeah. And so I did. We had a sci-fi show early, and I did an alien number as Ripley, and then a Princess Leia number.
I mean, I when you said alien burlesque, I was like, okay, how is that gonna? And what I got in mind is you're wearing a white shirt, and then you rip it open from here, and instead of pasties, you've got tiny little aliens that are bursting out of your chest.
So I did the chest burster, but I did it with a red scarf so that I could.
Oh yes,
sort of like the part of it. And then I had, I do rip the shirt off, but the main gag of that is that I'm wearing a face hugger, but as a merkin. So. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Did you? So that was you can't just buy one of those, presumably.
No, I had specially made. Yeah. So the back, the front is the face hugger, right? And
then
with
the
all of the
tail.
little arms that come out, and then the back is the tail that comes up and it sort of like curves around. Um, that's the whole shtick. I built it around that because I was like I like was talking to my partner about it and I was like, okay, so listen, is this too crazy? Face hugger Merkin. And he was like, I'm excited to see what happens. Go ahead. And I was like, all right, great.
Nice.
That's good. So yeah.
People are saying we're confusing
What's a
alien and
Merkin?
people are saying we're confusing Alien and Aliens.
Yeah,
Aliens
I mean,
is James
it's
Cameron. Alien was Ridley Scott.
that's fair. Um, but I sort of I take it as a franchise.
Yeah, I haven't seen Aliens yet, but I'm told that if I found Alien a little bit too lacking in action, Aliens will scratch that itch. Apparently, it's a lot more action.
Yes. No, I don't do a full. Somebody just asked. I don't do a full xenomorph suit for the burlesque show. Too much.
That would be the opposite of you'd be putting on clothes during the performance.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to take off a full exoskeleton during it. So it's fine.
So I can't remember what. You were talking about the Alien TTRPG. How does that work?
Oh yeah.
What's
so there are two separate, like, there's two tracks for the RPG. They release modules that are like cinematics where you can you play through your module, but you have like goals. You pick a character and then your character has specific goals. Those goals do not always align with the rest of the in true Alien fashion. That you might not, in order to reach your goal, you might torpedo the rest of your party. Or
jeopardize the entire mission by going after a stupid cat, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things, when I was playing one of them, my job was to get a specimen off the space station. And someone else's job was to not let any specimens off the space station.
Directly mutually exclusive tasks.
Yeah, and I did succeed, but then it hatched and did kill us. So I don't know that I want, like, the win condition was met, but then like.
Well, it's very similar to there's a board game I play called Nemesis, and it's very much more of a board game than a role playing game. But it's set in sort of the alien world. You wake up on a ship and you've got to explore room to room, and you've got tasks, and each of you have got a task that may be counter to other people's tasks, and you may complete your task but then also die. So you've kind of got two conditions. You've got to complete your task if possible, and you've got to survive and get back to Earth. So it's like, if you win, you can win one without winning the other, which is what happened with me the other day. I was playing it with a friend, and my personal task was uncover two of the weaknesses of the alien by like taking one of their specimens to the lab. You got to walk around the ship till you find the lab, and then drop off the dead bodies and scan them. So I managed to do that, and then I was killed. So I was like, well, I succeeded my personal mission.
You did it, yeah.
But then we didn't succeed the actual mission. So it's fun. Yeah, Alien is very much about that, it seems. Very much about the hopelessness of dying in all its forms.
In space, where no one can hear you scream.
So are there, of all those many different role-playing games that we've talked about, which one have you not yet run yourself that you would most love to? What's your wish list of them?
Oh gosh, I actually run most of the time. I would love to play more. That would be fun. I'm gonna pull one in that I didn't talk about because I can't help myself. One that I really want to play in is called Wander Home.
Wander Home.
And it is, it's by Possum Creek Games, and it has been described as like like you're in Redwall. Did you ever read the Redwall
No, not me.
books? So it's like you're like friends with talking animals, and it's like just a really chill kind of experience. And it I also heard it described as like if you were in a Miyazaki film, in like the calm sections of a Miyazaki film.
In the calm sections of it, yeah.
The calm sections. Yeah, I just like every so often I'm like, I really want to like just play something chill where I can like be just like a nice escape, a nice
and
like
it's called Wandering Home.
Wander Home.
Wander Home. And your goal is to wander home, to find your way back out of the forest with your mystical animal friends, and just so if it's chill and relaxing and all of this, is there conflict? What's the driving force?
Yeah, there's conflict in like in that you are on a journey, but it's not a like I personally don't gravitate towards like super combat heavy games.
Yeah.
It's just like not in my particular nature. I don't want to stab everything. So this is one where it's more about more about the relationships. It's more about the role play than it is about that. Like I am an actor, and so I like getting a chance to sort of
in terms of then
those muscles.
In terms of then what you do gravitate towards, like what do you look for in a game? Do you enjoy the really crunch light, like you roll a single dice, you've got 3 numbers to choose from and that's it? You prefer that sort of game, or do you like much more Pathfindery when you're playing rather than running? And is there a difference?
I mean, I think I when playing or running, I like things that are not, I'm gonna get stuck in all these dice. Like I feel like I don't love math. So like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time doing really complicated math equations in order to do what I'm trying to do. I like having I've had some really lovely, like, authentic moments at a table. I like, but like there's been times that I've been so engrossed in stuff, and it's happened a couple times on stream when I've been playing, like where I've like cried, like because I was really in the moment, and like that's what was going on with my characters, and it was really there. I just like being I like the story aspect, telling the story versus like and then it was really cool because I like I hit him with my axe 18 times.
That is pretty cool though. Being able to hit a creature 18 times in a single turn. It's pretty cool. Whirlwind.
Just like a monk with an axe somehow. I don't know how it happened, but flurry of blows. But...
Got four arms each holding an axe.
Yeah.
Just spinning on the spot like Tasmanian devil. Yeah,
All right, fine. I'll do that.
That reminded me actually of another one called Seventh Sea, I think it was, 7 Seas. I played that with Jamie from Level Up as well. And yeah, that was very much like you guys as the players are also helping with the dungeon mastering. You can tell me like if you want there to be a chandelier in this scene that you can swing off of to do your cool move. There's now a chandelier here, kind of thing.
Then do it.
And then you can be like, there's a barrel in the corner that's filled with tar for when we tar and feather people, and I'm gonna. Obviously, it's pirate themed, 7 Seas, and so you're on a ship for the most part, and you're like, I'm going to tip this barrel over and set fire to it, and you're like, all right, let's do it, let's roll for it, and it's a single. It's just a set of D10, and so it's like a single type of dice. You're taking away some of the problem that can be found in D&D, where you go in, all right, roll me a D8, and your players go, is it this one? Which one is the D8? Which one? Who's got a D8? Is that? Oh, I gave it to you because you cast this spell earlier and you needed more D8s than you had. So give me that back and I'll roll this here. Oh shoot! I'm rolling a d12. Oops! Instead of a d20.
I don't know how I got a 10 on this D8, but take it.
It happened at the table for this latest Viva La Dirt League session. He hit me with a great axe and rolled a nat 20. And he was like, "Oh, 20!" And I was like, "How you get 20 on a d12, bud?" And he's like, "Oh.
How'd you do that?"
Oh, shit. And he was super excited that he got a nat 20. And then he was super disappointed immediately when I told him that you can't get a 20 on a d12.
I love it though. Like,
it's very exciting. He did a lot of damage. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate both personally. I do like having tables and numbers and systems and things, because it gives your character like somewhere you can feel like, if it's a game that's going to be running for a while, I want something with more crunch, because then I can track leveling up. I can track the ability of unlocking new abilities and getting pluses and bonuses to things that I didn't have before. It can make you feel like more of a hero's journey. If you just want a one shot where you're feeling like a hero the whole time, I can definitely appreciate systems that are like, you've got one page, you've got 2 dice that you roll, and you've got 3 stats at most, and then you don't need to waste your precious you've got 2 hours to play. You don't need to waste any of that precious time looking up what you can do, or even make it like, if you're playing a one-shot character in D&D, you spend more time creating the character than you do playing as the character, which can be a bit of a problem, I think, sometimes.
It's a little issue. Our current home campaign, I'm playing a Tabaxi monk. Her name is Storm on the Horizon, and she's very good at slapping everybody. That's her favorite thing to do.
Open hand slaps.
Just like a cat, like when they want to...
pawing.
Yeah,
batting. Batting at creatures instead of actually hacking at them. Smart.
Fine.
How did you meet the Perception Studios guys?
Through Level Up TTV. I needed because we only had a certain number of puppets. The kobolds there's 3 puppets, and we wanted 4 players at the table, and I just was not gonna do that to another human, to make them be the player with 3 puppets.
Where did the Kobold puppets come from, and why is there only 3 of them? They were created for Kobold Ate My Baby?
Yes. So I believe that Kobolds Ate My Baby was the first game that 9th level ever put out.
Right.
And so they are in the process of turning Kobolds Ate My Baby into the polymorph system, and so they're sort of they're doing an update for it. For those of you who have not played Kobolds Ate My Baby, you play kobolds who are on a mission to go get babies for their king, King Torg. All hail King Torg. It's so that he can eat them. So you're supposed to go retrieve a baby to bring back to your king, and you have to fight against your kobold nature the whole time, because you want to eat the baby, or one of the things that could be a problem is that you could be in heat, and so then or you could be or you yourself could taste like baby.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about that game, is that it gives you and D&D tries to do it as well, with the flaws and the ideals and the bonds and everything, but this one is just a very, very simple one. You roll and you get the one benefit, what do they call it, one edge, and one
edge, yeah.
One edge and one setback of some kind, one bogey. That's what they call it. The edge and the bogey.
Yeah, bogey, yeah.
And your edge is something like you I don't know, you have a magic spell or something. I can't remember exactly what.
Right, or you can be very you're very fast or something,
right,
but
just a little bonus, just not something amazing, not something necessarily with mechanical things, but something that you can draw on at some point in the game and be like, oh, because I'm really fast, can I try this thing? And then you get a bogey, which is you smell like babies, or you taste like a baby, or you're really flammable.
Flammable, I like that one a lot. So you're very flammable. Yeah. So you're doing it. So in their push to do this changeover to turn it into the polymorph system, they they commissioned 3 kobold puppets to look like the drawings from the original game.
Right, gotcha.
Who are done by John. I don't remember
John Cena.
his last name. Yeah, probably. That seems right.
Could be. What would you do if you looked it up right now and realized it was John Cena that made those puppets?
That would be really impressive, actually.
He's just got a side gig. It keeps it under wraps. Doesn't like to promote it much. It's just a hobby for him.
It's by John Kovalik did the art. Who it may know from, he also did all the art for all the Munchkin games, Steve Jackson Munchkin games.
Right. Okay.
Very distinctive style art. He did the kobolds, and so they translate very well into puppets the way that he drew them. So they have 3, one that has 2 small eyes, one that has 2 big eyes, and one that has 1 of each. And they started making TikToks with them, and they started playing with them and doing all of a bunch of random stuff. And then they were like, well, this has been very fun. What if we bring in more puppets? And then they just drown me in puppets forever.
They are fun though. Those puppets are just chaotic and crazy. I had the opportunity to play with the Perception Studio folk for promoting the
They're so good.
The Red Dragon Inn, the eighth edition of that game, and that was tremendous fun. Meeting
so
Cucumber and playing with him and like seeing him in the quote unquote green room before the session starts. It's such fun. And I got to play with the guy who controls Yeet as well in Rebel Scum. So it's all connected. Comes all back around.
Yes, he refers to himself as the Fat Wizard.
The Fat Wizard.
He is. If he is not controlling, Yeet calls Chris O'Neill the Fat Wizard.
The Fat Wizard. The Fat Wizard that controls him. And and when I'm just looking at the screen now and seeing you're at Pixies and Pins, can you tell me where that came from? Why Pixies and Pins? Why not at Sarah's table? I assume Pixies and Pins was already established, is why.
Yeah, Pixies and Pins came far before any of that. The best advice that I was ever given was always carry pixie dust and safety pins in your pocket, because any problem you encounter can be solved with magic and practicality.
That's pretty smart. Magic and practicality.
So I couldn't do pixie dust and safety pins because it's too long.
Too long, yeah. Of course.
It wouldn't let me.
But Pixies and Pins has a nice ring to it.
It became Pixies and Pins. Yeah.
It's very cool. It reminded me of something I was told, which was you can fix any problem with duct tape or WD-40. I'm not sure if WD-40 is the brand name, and you don't know. It's the spray that can. It says if it doesn't move and it should,
we have that.
WD-40.
Yes.
And if it moves and it shouldn't.
If it does move and shouldn't.
Yeah, duct tape. Fixes everything.
With you.
Cool. Yep. I'll be letting you get off soon, but we should talk a little more about you mentioned it at the top. World of Chaldea, was it? World of Chaldea.
Yeah, World of Chaldea. It's just like a really big project. And Peter likes to say that he is going to be working on it until he dies. So we already have 7 seasons planned. So season 1 is already released. Mm-hmm. If you go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/World of Chaldea, Chaldea. Thank you, chat.
Chaldea.
That's the one. It's in there. Chat's helping. Thanks, guys.
Hey,
you're the best. And season 2, we have shot part of, and we have our Studio Volts is our art studio that is working on it. They're doing all of the like motion graphic stuff currently. We had a setback because of this weird global thing that's happening that caused us all to have to slow down.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's just a little something.
Something Something I probably wouldn't have heard of.
So
pass me by.
Yeah, so it's brand new. So we are in the process of getting ready to dive more into season 2 to be able to get it out. But I do a ton for them. So I run their IMDb page, I do their podcast, I do all their social media, and I also am an actor. I play Poppy. She is like the Lois Lane of D&D. Like she's an investigative reporter. And I host a lot of parties for them, which is fun. Whenever we go to a convention for Chaldea, Peter always says people don't come to panels, but they come to parties. So we
Right.
host a party and we, like we'll screen something that we've done. But it's mostly just like come and have a couple drinks, and like then while you're here, we're gonna talk to you about this show.
That's smart. Smart. Yeah. Don't pitch it to them as, hey, come and listen to us about this show. Come to us, pitch it as like, hey, come and chill out and have a nice time.
Yeah.
And also, I'm gonna sneak this show thing in here.
Well, also, because I paid for your booze, you have to listen to me.
You have to listen to me. While we're on the topic of conventions, I'm on the recently out of the closet nerd. I was not a nerd growing up. I didn't or at least I was and didn't realize it until recently when I had an awakening within myself. I've only been playing D&D for about 5 years.
Did you get your toaster oven? Did they send it to you?
No, they didn't. They never sent me it yet. I think it's because of the pandemic and things. It's got lost in the post or something.
I'm sure it's in the mail. It's
the mail crisis of the ship that's sideways and upside down in some canals in my.
Oops.
Is this how ships are meant to go? Is this right? I don't think I did something right here. So I'd never actually been to a nerd convention yet. But right before the pandemic sort of went down in March of last year. In about February of last year, we got contacted by Wizards of the Coast to say, hey, we really love what you're doing with the Viva la Dirt League things. Would you like to come to D&D Live in March and like be a part of the panel and everything and like meet Critical Role and all these other people and work with these cool people, and we'll fly you out business class, all expenses paid to California, all this. And I was like, this is literally unbelievable. And then of course, immediately afterwards they were like, hey, everything's cancelled in the world. so that was my first of the disappointing convention cancellations.
That's so sad. I'm so sorry.
Then I bought tickets to go to PAX Australia, and I was like super excited for that this year. It was meant to be in early October this year, and then of course everything continued to be cancelled. Then there was a much smaller scale one, Armageddon, which is Auckland's version of nerd conventions, and everything was continued, and that's been cancelled again until next year.
So still nothing.
So I've still never been to a physical convention. I was invited to, and thankfully I got the chance to participate in GaryCon earlier this year. I ran a game for that online. But you mentioned that you got into doing your before Sarah's Table. The thing that prompted Sarah's Table was that they saw you at was it Gen Con, you said?
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you? So let's keep pushing that back and find out was your origin story even before that? How did you get to be playing games at Gen Con?
So Peter owns Gen Con.
Oh well, that would that helps to have a connection like that. Yeah.
Right, and then
So then we can push. We can just keep pushing it back though. How did you meet Peter?
Okay, so this is an excellent story that does not paint me in the best light. Are we ready?
We're ready for it.
Like 10 years ago, I was at Gen Con for my own stuff, just like as a guest, just being there. And I entered a raffle to play a game of Fiasco with the owner of Gen Con. And my name was picked. And we went. I went. It was held in like because he's in the governor's suite, so it's like a big fancy suite with like extra. There's like 3 or 4 rooms in it. It's really really fancy. And I went there, and he was providing lunch, and it was me, and I don't know if any of y'all watching have ever been to a gaming convention, but it turns out that there's a lot of very large dudes at gaming conventions. I know, this is a surprise.
Probably hairless though, right? Like bald-faced, large dudes.
Yeah, large dudes, and he also provided mimosas, and I was keeping up with everybody of mimosas that they were drinking. And I am not a very large dude, so I got hammered.
But the ears would suggest you're an elf, and elves can't get drunk, right?
Let me tell you what it happened. I was very drunk. We had wrapped the game, and Peter said, I have recently started being, I've pivoted. I want to make movies. I like movies. I think they're cool. I'm going to try to make them. And so he was getting ready to cast his first short film, and I was like, in my drunken state, I was like, I am an actress, and you should definitely hire me. And like drunkenly gave him my business card. And then he like poured me into the elevator and was like, thanks so much. And I like sobered up a little while later and was like, oh no, I mishandled that. That was bad. And then I got an email from him that was like, so sorry, it's already been cast, but I'll keep you in mind for future projects. And I was like, oh, I know what this email means. This is a no. Thank you. And then I found he lives in Seattle, and so I found myself out in Seattle, and I had responded to his email and was like, I'm gonna be out here. Like, if you're interested in hanging out, like chatting and stuff. And he was like, yeah, let's have lunch. Picked me up for lunch. We went to a martini bar for lunch. I didn't realize until about halfway through this lunch that it was a job interview.
Oh.
And he kept buying me glasses of wine.
He's like, there's something about you that's different to how I remember you, so...
I don't remember who you are. You must be drunk.
Let's get that back.
So I, again, I had too much wine. And this is not a thing. I am not like a big drinker. And so this is like really out of character for me. And I feel terrible about it. But by the end of that lunch, he was referring to this character that he had been talking about as you. And you would be doing this and your character. And so he cast me in his big brawling fantasy epic, Chaldea, at that lunch. And then I went back to where I was staying and I took a nap because I was drunk.
Sounds like a good job interview, to be honest. Yeah, as job interviews go.
I really feel like
pretty good to enter one sober and leave a job interview drunk.
And leave one drunk. Yeah, it's probably not how you should do every job interview, but like for this particular one, it works quite well. So I've been just sort of like slowly doing more and more stuff for them. Like I didn't start doing their social media until probably after like about a year after I had been working with them. And I was like, hey, you should tweet the booth number out. And Peter was like, how do you do that?
I don't know how to tweet.
Oh. Yeah. And then so within like 4 hours, he was like, what if I just pay you to do it? I don't wanna. I was like, okay. So just kept getting more stuff.
I mean, I'm waiting for the part that doesn't paint you in a good light. I was expecting you to vomit on his shoes or something. He was plying you with mimosas and wine.
No, it's true.
That's on him.
And as now our tradition now is to toast to good stuff by having mimosas. We try to at every convention. He and I have a mimosa together.
Very cool.
To commemorate.
So tell me about other conventions you've been to. What's your experience with them, either before or after that event?
Yeah. So generally when I go to conventions now, it's because I am working for Chaldea.
Yeah.
which means that I host a party. I usually do a panel. Sometimes I play in an exhibition game. It's been it's been super nice. I get to meet a lot of people who are like very important. And I have been able to really kind of like like I don't realize who they are and why I should be intimidated by them until after they're gone. And then I'm
That's,
like, oh shit.
I mean, that's for the best though. That's the best way to do it. You like, because then same with your job interview, not realizing it was a job interview. If you had, you'd have gone into it differently, with a different frame of mind.
Yeah.
You'd have been nervous, anxious. You'd have been overthinking things, perhaps answering differently. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have been yourself.
Yes. So it's very relaxed.
It's the
It's
same.
great. It's been very cool to be able to just like chat with
It's
people. I tell the story about how I accidentally shit talked 3.5 to Jonathan Tweet, who wrote it.
how did that come about?
I mean,
he was wearing a badge that says "I wrote 3.5. Ask me anything," and you were like,
Yeah.
3.5. Fucking hate that. It's the worst.
I hate that. We were at the Dead Dog Party, which is at the very end of Gen Con. One of the things that you do with like Peter hosts a big party for like everybody who worked it. And so we were at Dead Dog, and Jonathan had he had designed 2 different short form RPGs for us to use in convention settings, and so I had been hanging out with him the whole con basically. And we were at the Dead Dog Party, and I mentioned how I don't like how like really crunchy systems. I feel like that gets in the way of the RP experience, which is what I'm looking for. And because he's who he is, he said, right, like how 3.5 of the dice get in the way. And I was like, exactly like 3.5. And whenever I had played that, it was like it just didn't have a good time. And then I paused and was like, you wrote that. And he was like, yeah, I did. I was like, well,
here's some honest feedback for you, mate.
I can't take it back.
What do you want? You think people are out there saying 3.5, super easy to pick up. No crunch to that. It's not like It's not like he doesn't know.
Yeah, he knows, and he was gracious about it, and like he doesn't hate me. I still text him every once in a while.
He doesn't hate you to your face.
He doesn't hate me to my face. That's true. He could hate me later.
I've always been of that frame of mind though, of like I try not to worry myself about who somebody is in super important, whether they're super important, and I should be fearful of them, because it's one of the reasons I kind of hated my time as an actor. I don't really consider myself an actor these days. I talk about my acting as being like I used to be an actor rather than like I'm still an actor, and I do act these days, but it's all through the lens of D&D. So it feels much more like a DM than an actor.
Yeah.
But it's just something about it that was like, it just always felt sleazy to be like learning everything about a person and before you meet them. And I think maybe some of it comes from the fact that I'm English, and there's like stereotypes about the English as being like you need to be formally introduced to a person before you assume to meet them. If I met Tom Hanks, I'd introduce myself. I wouldn't just assume to know who he is, kind of thing. I know who he is, but I don't know him.
Right.
And I wouldn't speak to him as if I knew him. And it's the same with if I'd have met Gary Gygax or whatever. Like if I met Luke, if I met Matt Mercer, I wouldn't be like, I'd obviously say, hey, I'm a huge fan or whatever. I wouldn't pretend like I didn't know who he was. But but I also wouldn't presume to know him or know everything about him. I just don't like the sense of, oh, this person invented this thing that's tangentially related to this other thing that you like, and therefore he's important and you should revere him, kind of thing. You should know everything about him. Yeah. And it can obviously bite you in the ass if the person feels like they should be revered.
Sure. But then I feel like you don't really want to hang out with them.
Probably not.
If they're gonna act like that,
And also,
Yeah,
it's just there's so much in the world. There's so much, even in the very niche thing of tabletop RPG community. There's still a million different. We just went through like not even half of them just before. There's a million different games. Each of those have a designer and other people that worked on them and artists that did the art for them and all of this. It's impossible that I could possibly know everybody who's been involved in everything. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, sure, I didn't know the name, but that's fine. You didn't know everything when you were born. You at some point you learned that guy's name as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning it today. Nice to meet you. Hi. What is it you did?
Hello,
oh, you made 3.5. Cool. It's a shit game. Cool. Fuck you. And you punch him in the face.
And then you punch him, and then you walk away. And then you're like, bye. Thanks
for the record, anybody watching this later, I've never actually played 3.5. That was not my personal opinion of it. I've never played any of the earlier editions of D&D. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've only ever played 5th edition. I know a lot about early editions.
Wild.
With the Thaco, yeah.
Yeah, I played that with Stefan Pokorny, who Dwarven Forge. If you guys know what Dwarven Forge is, that is the only edition that like Stefan will run.
Stefan, you said Dwarven Forge is Stefan the owner of Dwarven Forge or creator?
Yeah, he's the owner of Dwarven Forge, and he also does a lot of the like sculpting and stuff. He's a classically trained artist.
Right. Awesome.
He's a lovely person. He's actually in. He's one of the players in my Actoroki game that I'm DMing on Wednesdays.
Nice.
But when he runs AD&D, where you have the Thaco system, and it's
wild.
So different.
Yeah, I've wanted to play for a while just to test it out, just to see, because I know so much about all the other editions just from being a DM and hearing about it and watching videos about comparisons and things, and just hearing how people talk about early editions that have played them. And I'm just fascinated. I'd love to play like a short campaign from each of them, because like a one shot wouldn't be enough. Like I've played Pathfinder one shots, so I know roughly what 3.5 is like, but like it's not enough to actually like really get into the weeds, properly create a character, properly go through at least like 3 episodes of a AD&D or a 3.5 4th edition. I'm really fascinated to try because of all of the vitriol for it.
Yeah. I think 5e is the most accessible
for sure
that they've had in a really long time. I think it's taken the like barrier to entry and moved it down really, really low, so that people who are interested in doing it, but like I mean it can be kind of intimidating, I think, to try to like come in. I mean if the first thing I had ever played was AD&D, I don't know that I would still be playing, because it's difficult.
Yeah. It's not welcoming.
But yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel like it's embracing the newcomer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like pick it up and like figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think that 5e has been great for that, because it truly, you can give it to a group of people who have never played any D&D before, and it's between the 4 or 5 of you can be like, okay, who thinks that they can maybe DM? And even if they've never done it before, like,
who's the fastest
really
reader?
Clear. Right, exactly.
Who can speed read through this DMG?
just keep going. So I think that has been really great. I do find the other ones very interesting. But like, for me, I'm probably not going to do as much D&D stuff at my table. Like there are so many
other things. Yeah.
So many games. Yeah. Although I did write a module for D&D.
Like a one-shot thing, or like a...
Yeah, it's a one-shot. I'm actually in the process of hopefully getting it published. Cool. It's called Welcome to Calabazo Park, and it's a theme park that 2 foppish elves have absolutely, like in their hubris, have created this theme park that is controlled magically and brings in a bunch of like monsters from all over the realm. so that you can go and see what adventurers do. Take your kids to the
That's
park
cool.
and see what adventurers do. And of course, it gets away from them. And so, yes.
I feel like this is. I was listening to something or watching something recently where somebody was like, "Oh man, that'd be a super cool idea for a one shot," and they were talking about pretty much the same thing, like a Jurassic Park of D&D monsters. And then obviously while people are there, it gets out of hand. That sounds awesome.
Bad things have happened. So yeah, I actually think I'm running it as an exhibition game at Pacific Con in September in San Diego. So if you guys want to come watch it,
I mean, the world might be open by then, and I might be actually open to be traveling again. Speaking of writing modules, leads perfectly into the last thing I wanted to talk to you about. Is I'm currently writing a side quest for Satine's new module, the Sirens of Battle of the Bards.
Cool.
And so, firstly, let's talk about the writing. How did you get into it, and how long did it take, and what were some of the challenges that you faced in writing that module? How did it come about?
I approach the module very much like how I prep a D&D session or any gaming session. I actually started with excellence modules because I have run it enough times that it felt sort of like I'm already doing this work, and so I should also make this into a module. I think my biggest issue with modules, and so this is my gripe with trying to write it, is that I don't feel like they give enough space and like choice. It feels like I'm railroading my players, and I don't want to do that. I like to follow where they go and just God, do whatever you want. You want to go in this room? I didn't develop it. What's in there? Let's find out.
It's really difficult to write something that accounts for a branching tree of endless possibilities. Because how do you write for an endless possibility? Like, by nature, anything that you're writing is making it is dulling it down into multiple choice rather than endless possibilities.
Yeah. And I personally got around that by doing in this particular one in doing sort of like charts that you as the DM can roll on of what is showing up at this time in this area. But I mean, even then, it's not everything ever created. It's it's a set.
Yeah, it's still a set.
But I also am maybe the queen of going off module. I want to know what I want to run the game that my players want to play, and so I want to make sure that they're having a good time, and I want to are we side questing? I'll go with you.
Let's do it.
So
I've played in the start of a few different modules and rarely gotten to the end of any of them because of people's nature to just be like, yeah, but I'm more interested in what's happening over here, or the players really want to go and see what's over here. And so I've started Storm King's Thunder as a player at least twice and never gotten past the first village.
Yeah.
So the challenge of
there's also I also try to include at least one NPC that the players will latch onto because that will happen, and then they will now this is our I love them. It is my child. I'll take it with me. So
I've stopped trying to predict which NPCs they'll latch onto because I created a guy that literally had no name. He was just there to be killed by another NPC to set up that NPC as a bad guy. And they started asking him his life backstory, and so I called him Dude, and then I improvised the backstory for him on the spot, and then he's become an iconic character now. So I've just been they'll latch onto whoever, and I'll just have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Rip Dude, yeah. Just shout out. I've just seen GM Workshops in the chat. How's it going, GM Workshop? Good to see you popping in.
Workshop, and I saw Dice Cream.
And Dice Cream Sandwich. Good to see you. First time chat. I noticed the other day, I don't know if it's still the case, but I was looking, a mod messaged me a screenshot of fastest growing D&D channels on Twitch. And of course, number 1 was Critical Role. Number 2 was Dice Cream Sandwich, and number 3 was me.
Yeah.
So me and Dice Cream Sandwich are going to team up to take down Critical Role. That's what we're going to do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we've decided.
Do you guys need a rogue for your party?
Yeah, we do. We always need a rogue. Everybody needs a rogue, because how else are you going to get through the door?
Yes. You're stuck on the other, or I suppose a barbarian.
Barbarian can also do the thing, but then they set off the runes that the rogue would have otherwise seen.
I mean, yes, correct. But like, there are more than one way to get
skin a door.
That's all I'm saying. To skin a door, or to
so how did you get over that challenge of trying to? You said you put in tables of like things are going to show up here and here, and there's some random elements to it. But how did you ultimately go? We still need a beginning, middle, and end. It still needs to be a story, a satisfying arc to it. I need to be able to write what the finale of this module is going to be, without knowing how they're going to get there. How did you tackle that?
Well, I mean, I also am a writer. And so I have gotten, I've written a lot of like short films. I've written a lot of short stories. And so I sort of just take that structure and apply it to, if I were making this a film.
Right.
How, what are the big beats? And sort of, so the things that I write out are the beats of the story, as opposed to like, I'm obviously not writing everybody's dialogue, and I'm not writing how we're getting from place to place. Mm-hmm. I sort of consider the module that I'm writing to be like the GPS instructions.
Yes.
Of like, I'm starting outside the park, and I'm ending, hopefully, with everyone still alive at the end of, in the center of the park. And so I give myself my story beats, and I like to put a note in when I am making modules that's like, you don't have to do everything exactly how I would do it. Like if something doesn't appeal to you, like you can skip that part. Like you don't have to take them. You don't have to complete every part of this quest in order for it to have been a successful game night. I hashtag everything joyful gaming. I want you all to have a good time. That's all I'm looking for. Yeah. So
did we all hang out and have a good time role playing and didn't roll a single dice? And we had a really good time. Sweet, you won. Did we roll 1 million dice today and we had fun with every one of them? Yep. You had fun. You won. Good stuff. Yeah, I like that. It's very, very wholesome. It's very very important to remember that there's as long as you're all having fun is a big caveat as well. Like, if one person's fun is counter to somebody else's fun,
is ruining everyone else's fun.
That's you gotta be aware that it's not just about you having fun to win D&D or role playing games.
Right.
You got to make sure that everybody's enjoying it. And if you find that the way that you like to play to have the most fun is just genuinely not the way that other people like to play, then you got to find other people to play with. You got to find people who gel with the style of play that you like. Makes sense. So the other link with the writing the module is that, as I mentioned, I'm working with Satine, and you said that you're doing things on Gildan Light as well. How did that relationship come about? How did you meet Satine Phoenix?
I've known Satine for years. I met her a million years ago at a convention. And she, we're just clicked. She's a delight of a human being, and we've done some stuff together. We did an Ttrpg game at Gen Con this past year. And I've just we are in talks, she and I, about me perhaps being on one of her upcoming Satine quests.
Ooh, nice.
in the next year or two.
Man, that's starting to look great, isn't it? She's we've been seeing some of the pictures coming through and stuff, and of course the stuff that's on the Instagram as well. It's like,
and she and really Jameson are wonderful, and I've never seen her so happy, and I'm super.
They're just sickeningly adorable. They're just both so amazing together, and and it really it's not an act either, because like
No.
where I've considered myself friends with them now. We've played together a few times, even off camera, just playing for the sake of playing.
Yeah.
And they're just, even then, even when there's no cameras on them or anything, they're just hanging out. They're just such lovely people, really wholesome and friendly, and really care about you and what you've been up to and stuff. And and yet somehow staying ridiculously active and busy and constantly making new things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're both in a really good place right now, and it's really lovely to be able to interact with them in that way. Every time I've talked to her, she's just been so genuine. It's been great.
That's good. Is there anyone you would love to play with that you haven't yet met or played with? Either DMing for them or playing with them?
I'd love to play with Matthew Lillard. I've met him, but have not gotten to play with him
Matthew Lillard,
yet.
the name rings a bell. Remind me who.
He was in Scream. He was in SLC Punk. He was in. He owns Beetle and Grimm now.
Okay. I think maybe that's why I knew the name. Matthew
he's
Lillard.
Just the sweetest person. Really lovely individual. But I just haven't gotten to. Yes, he was Shaggy.
Oh yes. Yeah.
I haven't gotten to.
I think I saw him playing. I think I saw him playing. Maybe it was with Tabletop with Will Wheaton. Maybe I think saw him in something like that. I agree. I was like, oh man, that guy looks like he would be a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, he's just a great person. And I got to introduce him to Peter, which was very fun because Peter was sitting on the floor of his hotel room, with a glass of red wine, just
smashed
hanging
from
out.
Mimosas, just like.
Yeah, he was sitting down, and I brought. He was so sweet because I host the party at Gen Con, and he was hovering at the door, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he was like, "I wanted to come in and meet Peter, but I wasn't invited." And I was like, "Oh, well, this is my party, so come on in."
Here's your invite. And then huge twist, he's actually a vampire and you just invited him in.
Right. Well, I mean, these things happen, there are worse ways to go.
Love.
It's true. And I brought him over and I was like, "Peter, I have somebody to introduce you to." And I stepped aside and Peter, I don't know, Matthew Lillard's 72 feet tall. He's hugely tall. And Peter is not only not super tall, but he was also sitting cross-legged on the floor of the hotel room. And so when I stepped aside, he was like, "Ooh," and went this, hugged me, and Matthew Lillard Mama leaned down and gave him a hug, and they chatted for a little bit, and then he was like, "Okay, thanks so much," and he thanked me and he left. And when he left, Peter tugged on my skirt and was like, hey, and I looked down and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "That guy was in Scooby-Doo." Just lovely. Just super fun. But he's just super polite and respectful. Nice. And great. He's a great person. And I would absolutely love to play with him. But he's more important than I am, so
Well, on that note, that was a lovely story to end on. I'll just open it up to people in the chat in case they've got questions for either of us that we could chat with them about. Because in short rests, I get so into my guest and talking with you and chatting around the campfire that I completely forget that there's all of these other people sitting around the campfire with us. Any of you guys got any questions for us?
Yeah. What you want to say?
What you want to say?
I can't guarantee that I know anything, but I'll make something up.
We'll give it a go. Well, I mean, we'll give it a go. Have you always been based where you are, by the way, or have you moved around a lot?
Yeah, I've always been strictly a Midwestern girl.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what this says about me, but whenever I am in another location and someone meets me there, they assume that I live there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you adopt an accent quickly? Or?
No. Is it an African or European swallow? You have to
you gotta know.
specify.
You gotta know these things.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that.
No, I don't. I definitely do not change the way I speak. But I get a lot like, don't you live in Seattle? Because I'm out there a lot for work. Or people who've seen me at Gen Con are like, don't you live in Indianapolis? Nope.
Just
I lived in London for a while.
Like you're
in
London,
college,
right? Natural born London.
Yeah, obviously
totally
you're from here. Yeah, totally. I lived in Ireland for a while.
Oh yeah, whereabouts in Ireland?
I was in Dublin.
Oh yeah, Dublin.
Yeah,
nice place. I've been to Dublin just once, but I liked it there. Nice place.
I like Dublin.
How about New Zealand? Any opportunities to get to New Zealand? Anything on your radar?
I wish I could. I've always wanted to go. I would love to come down.
I mean, you're over here. You should definitely hit me up.
It turns out
cool
they
stuff,
let us out of the country, though.
No, not at the moment. The world's a little bit locked down at the moment.
Actually, I think they'd probably let me out of the country, but they wouldn't let me back in.
Yeah, not right now.
Be a thing.
Fancy Unicorn asks, "What's the one thing you're hoping for in 2022? What is the next year bringing for you?"
Oh, I mean, I think it's maybe sort of a modest goal, but I would like to in 2022. I'm really focusing on just like being able to say no to projects. I get really excited about things, and I just say yes to everything because I just get like so
it's
jazzed,
exciting, isn't
you know?
it? And it's not that I'm saying yes because I feel obligated to. I'm saying yes because I genuinely want to do it. And then I'm like,
right.
Oh, when are we going to fit this in? Scroll.
I need to be. I'm trying to be smarter.
Yeah.
I hit 40, and my brain was like, maybe we don't have to say yes to every single thing that's given to us.
If you work out how, please do let me know.
Yeah, I mean, if I truly figure it out, maybe I'll write some sort of TED talk about it because I feel like a lot of people
are doing the same thing. Yeah, lots of things to do. Don't make too many projects.
Somebody wants to know if you could make a Time Lord D&D character.
Oh, a Time Lord. Time Lords. I've always been interested in the concept of time travel in D&D because it can so easily mess things up, and so there's very few things that kind of mechanically support it in D&D. There's very few time spells. And yet, when they are in there, they're just put in there just kind of like a throwaway. Like there's one of the Sphinx characters can just like send you forward 10 years in time or send you back 10 years in time or something. And just, there's like a random effect when you come back from the Feywild that may mean that you've just traversed forwards 100 years. So it's like they've avoided putting in time travels because they don't want to make things complicated. And then when they do, they just kind of like put it in there with nothing to support it, to be like, oh, now your game's fucked up because the campaign you were going to run with the big bad evil guy doing his thing that's happened, I guess, because the characters weren't there for 10 years. So time travel in D&D is very unsupported, I think. The only real time manipulation spell, there's slow and haste, obviously, which can speed up an individual character. And then there's the 9th level spell, Time Stop, which it's a 9th level spell on the level of Wish, but it can stop the clock for everybody but you for one extra round if you roll poorly.
But even then, I mean, it's only one extra round. It's not
one extra round, and that's it. And at the max, you get like 4 or 5 extra rounds to do things, but not 4 or 5 extra rounds to do anything you want. It lasts only until you like damage somebody as well. So you can't just take 4 rounds of stabbing the big bad guy in the face until he eventually wakes up again. There's so little you can do with that 9th level spell. And so making a Time Lord would be fascinating to try, but it would not be supported by a lot of the in-game mechanics. I reckon you'd have to just homebrew a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, let us know how that works out.
Yeah.
With your homebrew that you're doing.
Yeah.
I feel like I would use the Time Lord. Like, I think she'd be more like Mary Poppins than she would be like.
I think
would be some sort of.
I think you could use a Time Lord. Yeah, you could use a Time Lord as an NPC easy enough because you can handwave a lot of the things that the players don't need to know about. You can be like, oh yeah, this guy seems timeless, and you'll meet him and he'll pop in and out of existence, and he makes some cryptic comments about things that are coming up. and you as the DM have to word it in such a way that it is sort of a Barnum statement about the things to come, and so it applies to anything they end up doing. So whatever choice they do, you go, oh, and you think back to when you met the wizard, and he said something that could have pertained to this thing that you just did.
Then you have to write a bunch of that malarkey, though.
Yeah, it's tough, but definitely worth doing. If you work out how to do it, Seblander, let me know.
Yeah.
Cool. If there are no other questions. It doesn't seem like there are. Then we'll say goodbye. Thank you very much for joining me. Where can people meet you and see you if people have enjoyed hearing you today?
Yeah.
Where can they see more of you?
So I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Ko-Fi and TikTok as Pixies and Pins. I'm on Facebook as actor Sarah Moore if you would like to find me there.
And it's O-R-E, right? More.
Yes, OORE. I am also all over the internet as World of Chaldea. I run all their stuff. Sarah does not live here. Sarah lives in Chicago. I'm stateside. Unless I don't know where Rigor Dracora is. Perhaps I do live there.
Yeah, if you're also in Chicago, I think Dracora might have been saying, "Do you live here on this channel?"
Do I live here?
Maybe.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
I could live here. I'm just gonna set up
here today.
A cot in the corner.
Just in the corner. Every stream's just got you tiny
just like taking a little nap, reading a book, eating
24-hour
ramen
video
noodles
cam on you.
It's totally fine. It's not weird.
So you can find me at Pixies and Pins.
Me
you can find me World of Chaldea. You can find you at Sarah's Table, 9th Level Games. You can find you on Level Up TTV. You're all over the place.
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere.
I bet if you look hard enough, I'm sort of everywhere. So.
And if you happen to be watching this from one of Sarah's many avenues, you're from Sarah's community, not mine. I'm Robert Hartley. I'm a dungeon master. I am the dungeon master for Viva la Dirt League, a comedy group in New Zealand. We play D&D we play D&D every couple of months and then cut it into bite-sized chunks. So unlike certain other live play D&D sessions that take 4 hours a week to actually commit to watching it and keeping up with it, you can watch a half an hour episode of the Viva la Dirt League D&D over on YouTube. You can also find me several times a week here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Robert Hartley GM, where I talk about all sorts of Dungeons and Dragons related things. Yes, I also have a Patreon where you can support me financially if you like the things that I make and want to help me to pay the bills so that I can keep making those things.
Yeah.
And
then I'm gonna trap you into playing more games with me at some point.
100%. I will willingly walk into those traps. I've enjoyed all of the games that we've played together so far and look forward to many more. I look forward to you introducing me to many of those other games that you brought up that I'd never even heard of. I'm always down for more different RPG systems. So stick around for the raid. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Sarah. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.